Hey, and welcome to the highlights of episode number 50 with Anita Moorjani. Some of my favorite parts of this episode, well, it's really hard to just pick a few, but when Anita takes us through step by step her near-death experience. Now, I have never met anyone who has had a near-death experience, so this was epic to hear. Plus, I also loved when she gave us 3 questions to ask when we are faced with fear. But there is so much more wisdom and inspiration you get in the full episode. So to listen to the full episode and get all the info in the show notes, head to melissaambrosini.com/50 right now. Welcome, Anita. I am so excited to be chatting with you. You have been such an inspiration to me. But for those that don't know your amazing story, can you please share it with us?
February the 2nd, 2006 should have been the last day of my life because at that point I had end-stage cancer. And it was lymphoma, and I had been battling it for 4 years, and it had spread. It spread throughout my lymphatic system, and it had metastasized into my breasts and into my abdomen. So I had tumors, many of them the size of golf balls, and these tumors were from the base of my skull, all around my neck, under my arms, in my breasts, and all the way down into my abdomen. And at that point, which was like by the time I was in the 4th year of battling the disease, it had spread so much that my body had stopped absorbing nutrition. And so my muscles started to deteriorate and my lungs were filled with fluid. I weighed about 85 pounds. And because my lungs were filled with fluid, I couldn't even lie flat. If I lied flat, I would choke on my own fluid. So I was breathing with the aid of oxygen. I was constantly connected to oxygen. And because my muscles had deteriorated and I wasn't absorbing nutrition, I couldn't walk. So I was either on a wheelchair or in bed. Basically, those were my only 2 places, either in a wheelchair or in bed. And on February the 2nd, 2006, my organs shut down and I went into a coma. And that was when the doctors told my family that these were my final hours because now my organs were shutting down and they said that I was going through the dying process and one by one my organs were shutting down. And so there I was in the hospital in the intensive care unit in a coma with my body connected to all these machines, to a heart rate monitor and oxygen. I also had a food pipe for nutrition because I wasn't eating anything. And the doctors were constantly draining fluid from my lungs so that I could breathe. And even though my eyes were closed and I was already dying, I'd started the dying process. I was aware of everything that was happening all around me, everything that was happening around my physical body. It was like I could see everything. It was like I had 360-degree peripheral vision. But what I remember most clearly, more than anything, was how I felt, because I wasn't in my physical body any longer. I felt incredible. It was like all the pain was gone. I mean, I had been in so much pain and so much discomfort, and now all the pain was gone. And I had been in so much fear. I feared the cancer. I feared the treatments. I feared death. I feared everything about it. And now even all the fear was gone. And I felt so incredible, like so light and free. And, I remember also feeling as though I was enveloped in this feeling of love, just this incredible, unconditional love, something I don't remember ever feeling in physical life before, because I'd always felt my whole life that I had to work really hard at being worthy and deserving of love. And now here on the on the other side of the veil, it felt as though I was loved just because I existed. I didn't have to do anything to prove myself. I was loved just because I existed. And it wasn't as if I was loved by a specific being. It was like I was loved by the whole universe, the all that is, like everything.
Wow. And do you know what I love so much in your book? Because I read your book so many years ago. And when I knew I was going to be interviewing you, I went back over and looked over my book notes. So I had created an Evernote document with all of my book notes. And one of them that was in bold and underlined was when you said you were given this powerful truth. And that truth was, heaven is not a destination, it is a state of being. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes. So what I realized when I was there was that this feeling I felt, this feeling of feeling so safe and so loved, it's available to me all the time, but I just never knew that. And the truth is that all of us, we actually are extremely safe and loved. And there is nothing we can do that is wrong, because the worst thing that can happen is that we die and we're back there again in this beautiful place and in this beautiful state of being. But in actuality, we are being loved all the time, but it's conditioned out of us. So this is why we start to control our lives from a place of fear, because we don't realize we don't have to do that. We don't have to live from this place of fear and control and rigidity and stress and worry. We can actually go, oh, I'm just letting it all go, because there is something bigger. There's a bigger part of us, an infinite part of us that continues to live beyond us, beyond this physical body. And that infinite part of us is the part of us that keeps our heart beating and, keeps us healing. And like, for example, when you cut yourself, you heal anyway. When you get the flu, you heal anyway. But because we have been conditioned to believe that our bodies are not as smart as they actually are, we intervene and we get in the way, and we're constantly trying to heal ourselves. And the more we work at healing ourselves, the more we're sending ourselves the message that our body needs intervention, that our bodies are not that smart. And we do that with every aspect of our life, when actually we are well cared for, we are loved, we are protected, but we just don't let go to find that out for ourselves. And when we realize we are protected, that is the state of heaven, when we can actually feel that, that being enveloped in that feeling of love and that safety and that relaxation, that is available to us 24/7. And that is the state of heaven.
Why are so many people suffering?
It's really sad, and it is to do with our conditioning, because everything that we are conditioned is the opposite of what we really need to know in order to live a healthy, fulfilling, happy, and love-filled life. Everything. So when we're born, because, when I came back from this near-death experience and I watched my body heal, I knew I was already healed, and I was watching my body catch up with what I already knew. As soon as I came back, I knew I was already healed. And so I watched my physical body catch up. And then I was euphoric when I first came back. But the scary part was then going back to the old community and thinking, okay, how am I now going to integrate into the very community or paradigm or culture where I got cancer in the first place? So my point here being that, so the first thing I wanted to know was, why did I have to die to figure this out? Why doesn't everybody know this? And then I realized, actually, we're born knowing this, because what just happened to me was I died and I was reborn, but I was reborn as an adult. And coming from that state of death, I came here knowing that we are loved. We're loved unconditionally. We are expressions of God. We're all facets of God. There are only two types of people, and those two types are those who know they are facets of God and those who don't. There is nobody who is not an expression of God. I realized that the way to true health is not about obsessing over our health or about focusing on cancer and cancer awareness, which is what we do. We have all these cancer awareness programs. The way to true health, the true measure of the quality of your life, is your desire and your will to live. It's about focusing on living life fully and finding your joy and your passion and having a reason to live. That is the path to health. Even our medical system, it's not a healthcare system. It's an illness scare system. And even our governments are not about how we should all live together as a community, but it's more about making us fear everybody that's different. And so every system we have, even, and this is provocative, but even our religious systems, they're based on fear of retribution in the afterlife as opposed to being based in love. So I realized that the only truth is love, and the only way to transcend fear is by increasing love. So when I started talking about these things to the people around me, that it starts with loving ourselves, what I learned in the other realm is that in reality, the world is an inside out world, not an outside in world. What we experience on the outside is a reflection of what's going on the inside. When I healed internally, when my spirit healed, my soul healed, or my emotions healed, when I came back, my physical body reflected that. There's a whole bunch of things that they can do. So number one is I would ask them questions like, have you suffered a trauma recently? Are you lonely? Are there people in your life who love you, who you love? I would ask them questions like this, and then have them evaluate those kinds of things. Like if there are people in your life who you love and who love you, if they say no, I would actually say, seek out people you love, spend time with people you love and who love you. And if they say they've suffered a trauma recently, like a divorce or something like that, or a death, somebody close to them died, I would ask them to seek out help for that, because all these things feed into physical illnesses. The answer you're looking for is like, if they're given their life, what is it they're passionate about? Because basically an illness is a wake-up call. And if they have no idea what they're going to do, and they're just going to go back and live the life they were living yesterday, well, that was the life that has caused them to have this wake-up call.